Hello, hello. Welcome, everybody. Happy Monday. I hope you're doing well. Thanks for swinging by the stream. And tonight we are getting into some sermon preparation on John chapter 13, verses 21 through 30. This is where Judas betrays Jesus. It's not the Garden of Gethsemane part, but it's where he's speaking to the entirety of his disciples in the upper room after washing their feet. And he's essentially talking to them about Judas is going to betray me, and they're trying to figure it out, right? And so that's what we're doing. We're doing John chapter 13, verses 21 through 30. And let's go ahead and read the text and see where we end up. It says, "After saying these things, Jesus was troubled in his spirit and testified, 'Truly, truly, I say to you, one of you will betray me.' The disciples looked at one another, uncertain of whom he spoke. One of his disciples, whom Jesus loved, was reclining at table at Jesus' side. So Simon Peter motioned to him to ask Jesus of whom he was speaking. So that disciple, leaning back against Jesus, said to him, 'Lord, who is it?' Jesus answered, 'It is he to whom I will give this morsel of bread when I have dipped it.' So when he had dipped the morsel, he gave it to Judas, the son of Simon Iscariot. Then after he had taken the morsel, Satan entered into him. Jesus said to him, 'What you are going to do, do quickly.' Now, no one at the table knew why he had said this to him. Some thought that Judas had the money back. Jesus was telling him, 'Buy what we need for the feast,' or that he should give something to the poor. So after receiving the morsel of bread, he immediately went out, and it was night." And so that is the text. It's obviously pretty explicit on Judas and his betrayal. I think of all the Gospels, it's one of the most explicit. So that's essentially what I should be preaching this upcoming Sunday, Lord willing. And let's go ahead and dive in. It's really a narrative section. So I'm kind of at a loss, like just immediately often, sometimes I'll get these, ideas that just kind of flow on like, ooh, this is what I should preach about. But this one, I'm kind of at a loss because it's so narrative, right? It's so much about the story and the plot. But I'm sure there are things underneath that story and plot, and we can probably dig into it. I will say at one point, it was shared with me the idea that this is Jesus showing his love for his enemies, right? Because he still gives him a morsel of bread. And so I think Joel Willits had kind of talked about this is a love thy enemy situation. And so I took up the theme of love yesterday, but I talked a little more generally about loving others with your actions, with your with your heart and your affections, and then also with like with your feet going out and outreaching to others. So I could continue up with the theme of love, but talk about how do we love our enemies. That would be a possibility, but it's not readily apparent on the face of the text itself. It's not so obvious that that is the big idea or the preaching theme. Speaking of big idea, I don't believe that this text actually had an entry in the Big Idea Preaching Companion when I had looked at it last, but it doesn't hurt to reference it just in case. And man, it's this one, the Big Idea Companion for Preaching. So it had some big ideas for 1 to 20, but it has nothing here for 21 or through the rest of the chapter. So nothing suggesting itself immediately. What's up, Chazzy? Good to see you. Welcome. Aloha. Hope you were doing well today and had a good weekend. We had a wild weekend, but not going to be a Chazzy downer today. All praise to the Lord through it all. Hey, amen. Good to see you, brother. I'm sorry you had a wild weekend. That can be rough sometimes, but hang in there. And yeah, doing very well today. It's been a very productive day. I was able to get a lot done around the house and things like that. So that was really nice. Feeling grounded and like I'm making progress, right? And that's a goal. So yeah, good to see you, Chazzy. I hope you can work through some of the trials and continue working in the right direction. So yeah, God bless you. Thanks for swinging by. So let's see. Nothing in the Big Idea Preaching Companion. I saw what are these? Syndicate Journal. I don't know that I've ever opened one of these. Well, it shows that I've opened a couple of them, I guess. But anyway, so many journals and things like that. Hard to keep track of them all. So there's that one. Narratively, there is obviously the wrestling of Judas' betrayal plus God's will being done, right? We've talked recently about human responsibility and God's sovereignty, so I don't readily want to go there again. I'd rather preach on this, but again, I'm just trying to get big picture ideas. Obviously, we'll need to explain. We want to set the stage for how everyone's laying around the table, and then where John is located, where Peter is located, and how he's motioning to him, etc. So, table location and how a meal might look in this situation. Something like that. Okay. So that would be good too. But that doesn't serve the expository portion of the sermon so much as just setting the stage for people. You know what? I'm feeling, let's just throw this into Passage Guide and let's start trying to get some big ideas going. So off the top of my head, I want to reference the Systematic Theological Study Bible. And I also want to reference the CSB Study Bible, because each of these can give me some broad, ideas of what the text is saying, right? So right here we have salvation, victory over Satan is being, this is afterwards. So Systematic Theology Study Bible, in true to form, takes large pericopes and skips a lot of sections. So nothing here. But the CSB Apologetic Study Bible or Disciple Study Bible often has information here. So let's hit that one up and see what we get. Okay, so they're just giving, let's see, these are all prior to our pericope. Here we go. Interesting. So you can see it ends at 19 and it goes 31 to 32. So very few systematic theological ideas represented here in the text again, and that makes sense because I said it's very narratival. It's talking verse 19 about and 14 to 15 about all these ideas, but then skip straight to 31 to 32. The selected pericope does not lend itself well to a systematic theological exposition, right? So not that I want to do that, but just noting that it doesn't lean into that is pretty helpful. Now, it does have a large paragraph here, so let's go ahead and read that and see if anything jumps out at us. Jesus Christ, his death. John related the betrayal of Jesus not only to Judas, but also to the source of all betrayal, the evil one. Okay, that's already helpful. So we can talk about betrayal. That's a very practical topic. Betrayal. The work of Satan, the evil one. Something like that. So betrayal would be a very good popular topic to treat because a lot of people feel like they've been betrayed before. Jesus did not choose Judas. John 6:70 to 71 speaks of Judas as the betrayer from the beginning. Jesus did not choose Judas so that he would betray him. Jesus had to be betrayed, but Judas did not have to do it. All of the disciples were potential betrayers of Jesus, as are all of his disciples today. That's pretty helpful from just like a, understanding, again, the human responsibility portion of things, right? So CSB disciples already being quite helpful. What's up, Cal Magic? Good to see you, my friend. Hey, PT, sorry I missed last week. Hey, not a problem. You were missed, but I understand. Life happens. I really wanted to be here, but life often has other ideas. There you go. Had to put my wife in hospice week before last, getting ready to send her home. 3 to 6 months is the highest probability. I'm so sorry to hear that, Cal Magic. It's been a really rough road for you. It's got to be bittersweet, I would think, right? Because you've seen her in such a degraded state, and she's obviously been suffering for some time. So I'm really sorry to hear that, man. End of life decisions are extremely difficult, and just working through the reality of all of that is hard. So my thoughts and prayers with you, brother. Thank you for all your love and support, and you just be here as you can or have ability. Please let me know if there's anything I can do for you, okay? Appreciate you, Cal Magic. God bless you, man. Chazzy, I will share an interesting part of the weekend. Our world religion class visited Buddhist, Hindu, Shinto, and Taoist temples. Very interesting. Oh, I would be very curious to hear your experience with all that. And those are alternative religions that a lot of Christians don't have exposure to. So I'll say in my undergrad, I was required to take some alternative religions class. But guess what it was? Islam, right? Eastern religions like Buddhism and Hinduism, and Shinto and Taoist approaches, they were not part of the curriculum. So a lot of Christians are very ignorant of Eastern religions. I'd be very curious to hear how that experience was and how you guys felt and all that type of stuff. Yeah, very interesting. Wow. Okay, let's keep going here. I like the idea of betrayal. The difference between Peter and Judas is that Peter sought forgiveness and Judas did not. Satan entered into Judas as he does all willing persons. Judas must be held responsible for his betrayal and we for ours. When Jesus perceived Judas and the high priest's soldiers coming, he looked behind them to the ultimate betrayer, the prince of this world. John's elaborate explanation about the disciples' misunderstanding as to who was the betrayer explains why Judas could leave freely to complete his betrayal. John's simple phrase, "it was night," is intended not so much to tell the time as to tell the status of the soul of the betrayer. John, who was always adding theological insight to his historical details, would connect this with the darkness and light motif that runs through this gospel. Absolutely excellent comment, and this is what we're running with. This is too good. Very few opportunities to preach explicitly on betrayal, and I think it's really relevant to people. A lot of people struggle with this, and so boom. I kind of want to title the sermon "Betrayal's Silver Lining" or something like that. Cal Magic, God has provided me 2 pastors come alongside me and help navigate my journey. Praise God, Cal Magic. That's very, very good. Yeah, keep leaning in. I couldn't imagine. I have not experienced something like that. Nor could I ever imagine experiencing something like that. So hang in there, brother. Hang in there. Chazzy, of course, I don't want to distract from the stream, but I will share. I see a lot of commonalities in these 4 to Christianity and found myself thinking of the Tower of Babel. Ooh, very interesting. While the languages were confused, the practices were kept in some fashion. That makes sense to me. That makes sense. Cal Magic, bringing up the 3 falls as betrayals. I like that, Cal Magic. And of course, Cal Magic, I believe you're referring what's the book we like from the Eastern Orthodox guy? Anyway, I believe you're referring to, flood, fall in the garden, flood, and then Babel, right? That's kind of the 3 falls and things like that. So I like that. Very cool. All righty. Well, I really like the idea of betrayal. Very interesting. Wow. There's so much we could dig into here. I find myself wanting to explore this concept topically. Okay, so I don't use this very often on stream. Use it off stream more often. But let's go fact book, right? And I find fact book, and let's see, Song of a Friend's Betrayal. No, I don't need to do that. Although, if there's a psalm associated with this, Psalm 55, very interesting. Let's note this as a cross-reference. But that's not what I meant. Yeah, betrayal. So let's dig into this topic. I think it'll be really relevant. Cool. Unseen Realm, Heiser. There you go. Yep. I was thinking of, not Heiser, though. I was thinking of, what's his name? There's that Eastern Orthodox guy you and I like, and we read his book on the gospel. Anyway, they overlap significantly with each other for sure. Okay, so betray. Something else I was going to say is the new search, the smart search, I find to be very helpful when it comes to these sort of topical studies. So like if you do what is betrayal, for example, and especially if you have like a lot of counseling type resources or psychology type resources, I find on topics like this, you'll often get some good hits, and then you can really navigate that well. So Smart Search plus Factbook is often super, super helpful at this point. So New Interpreter's Dictionary, A to Z Guide, Dictionary Biblical Imagery, but like living in community, cultivating practices that sustain us. Number 4, I don't think I ever would have referenced this, and yet look, they have a section right here on betrayal, right? Like this is powerful. This can be powerful. It's going to speak exactly to our situation. When we break promises, we also break relationships, erode community. Small betrayals often do surprising amounts of damage. They involve other broken practices: deception instead of speaking the truth, absence instead of welcome, grumbling and envy instead of gratitude, and then look, betrayal within the community, right? Like that's going to be very powerful stuff. And I wouldn't have found this without Smart Search. So pretty powerful. Jonathan Pageau and his brother, I got you. Language of Creation. Love that book. Love that book. I love this tea too. Okay, good. Well, we've got embarrassment of riches here. Let's see what it says, the synopsis. I like the synopsis at times. It says, betrayal is a complex concept involving the abuse of trust through deceit, subterfuge, or changing one's loyalty, often resulting in harm to someone who has placed their trust in the betrayer. It can manifest in various forms, including marital infidelity, treachery, or disloyalty. In biblical contexts, betrayal is often depicted as the wrongful exposure of what should remain hidden, or as breaking faith with God or another person. The act of betrayal can have significant consequences, eroding relationships and community bonds. Notable examples from the Bible include Joseph's brother's betrayal, Judas Iscariot's betrayal of Jesus, and Delilah's betrayal of Samson. The concept is expressed through various Hebrew and Greek words in biblical texts, each carrying nuanced meanings related to deception, misleading, or handing someone over to their enemies. This is so good. Already, boom. You've got the 3 examples that are listed here. They're all excellent, of course. And then, being able to dig into those Greek and Hebrew words is going to be fantastic, right? So, cool. What's up, Solomon? Good to see you. Been a minute. Yeah. Llama Pastor. Long time no see. That's a clean stream room / setup. Yeah, thanks. It's a pretty cool setup we have here. We got the light bar in the background. I could probably rotate this around. Let me see. Yeah. So you can see here we have, the whole backdrop. These are sound dampening panels, Solomon. And so we got those sound dampening panels for Jess and for her recording, right? So that's why we have the whole setup. And then of course she has her spot with her full mic setup back behind me. So that's for all of her recording for her music. So it was a lot to get this built out, but we've had a jerry-rigged setup for some time, and now it's nice to finally have like a dedicated space. Oh, and they did double insulation in this room. So this room has double insulation for sound. And I've noticed also what happens is if the electronics are on, like the computer, for hours at a time, it really warms the room up. So that's kind of funny too. But yeah, thanks for pointing that out. We really like this room. Cal Magic says, our God is a relational God, which is one of the reasons we get so much family type imagery, marriage, and idolatry. That makes perfect sense. Yeah, the relational aspect is huge, right? So we've got an embarrassment of riches, right? Like we betray God through our falls, right? So we have a garden, fall, flood, fall, Babylon, fall, no, Babylon. Why did I say Babylon? Babel is what I meant. Babel fall. And then of course they have Joseph's brothers. They have Delilah. And they have Judas. Right? So these are good examples. I just also thought of Ananias and Sapphira.
I don't know why you're clapping. I'm talking about you.
Hey, thanks for the follow. I appreciate that.
I don't know why you're clapping. I'm talking about you. Hey,
another follow. Thank you. I appreciate that. Welcome. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for swinging by. Aw, so sad. Ban.
I don't know why you're clapping. I'm talking about you.
Ban. Oh, it's too easy, guys. It's too easy. You're not going to make much progress here. I'm too much of a veteran.
I don't know why you're clapping. I'm talking about you.
But hey, thank you for the follows. And if you spam me with follows, that's fantastic. And then if it gets to be disruptive, I'll just turn that.
I don't know why you're clapping. I'm talking about you.
Follower notification off, right? It's that simple. So, you guys aren't going to make much progress here.
I don't know why you're clapping. I'm talking about you.
But if you're interested in dialogue or anything like that, I'm more than welcome to have some conversation and dialogue, right? But you should probably
I don't know why you're clapping. I'm
troll
talking
somebody
about
else
you.
because you're really not going to make much progress here, right? So, let's see.
I don't know why you're clapping. I'm talking about you.
Mute sound events. Boom. Mute sound events. Huh. It's not bothersome at all. Huh. So there you go. That's a lot of follows. But yeah. Anyway, you're not going to make much progress here, guys. So have a good evening. Chazzy Mac, is that an intentional play on words? The silver lining of betrayal. At least in NASB 95, it was 30 pieces of silver. I didn't do that on purpose, but that is brilliant. That is brilliant, Chazzy Mac. Wow, a bot for that. Interesting use of a bot. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Look, there's no problem with you guys doing what you're doing. You're just going to get banned if you ever type anything in chat, and the notifications are muted, so it doesn't matter. So, thanks for all the follows. Have a good night. Let me put this up here, Chazzy Mac. I think this is pretty cool that you put that. I didn't even notice that, right? But that's interesting. All righty. Well, we have an embarrassment of riches for us to dig into, really. And so many options here. I just love digging into the concept of betrayal, right? Because I think it's rare that you'd hear a sermon on this topic, and yet once you start digging into it, it's like so obvious that is what we should be talking about in this context, right? So the moment you guys type anything, you're gonna get banned. It's not hard. So anyway, let's go ahead and look now that we've got this. Let's try the fact book now. Let's see what some key passages are regarding fact book, because what we can do is kind of get, our cross references aligned. Interesting. That's pretty cool. And then after we get our cross references aligned, we can look up like our dictionaries and our encyclopedias and see if they have like really good definitions for it or something. So I think this is now that we have identified that we're going to just go ahead and focus in on, betrayal as a subject, from a topical perspective, I think we're going to make tons of progress here, right? Like this sermon's going to write itself. So, guys, I currently have 173 viewers. This is a strange use for a bot. There's no doubt about that. 193 viewers. Hey, thank you. Thanks, guys. You're pumping the channel. God bless you. Thank you for all of your views and your love and your support. You guys are awesome. So yeah, thanks. We're gonna be on the front page in no time. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate you very much. Welcome. Oh man. Let's see. Chazzy says, I think a challenging part of the scripture for sermons is the issue of free will. Judas was called out by Jesus, yet still did it. Was it free will since it had to happen? Yeah, that's one of the things that has been brought up here recently is how much is God responsible, right, versus human beings responsible for their behavior in this situation. And that's not so simple, right? That's not so easy to identify. So let's go ahead and throw your comment on here, Chazzy, because I think it's absolutely relevant to the question, right? So, guys, I don't know why you are pumping my channel. Like, if you don't like Christianity, I think the best strategy is to leave me alone, not give me 201 viewers, right? Like, I'm not sure 201 viewers and pumping me to the front page is part of your goals. Thank you, though. Much love. Appreciate you. And of course, if anyone has like any like good faith dialogue they want to participate in, you're more than welcome. I would love to chat with you, right? So, Chazzy, I wonder if there's a connection to Pharaoh and a hardened heart. Perhaps. Let's put that down as well. Man, embarrassment of riches. We're going to have way too many good options available to us. So, cool. Okay, well, let's go ahead and start looking at our key passages here and just trying to relate them. We obviously have Psalm 55, and that was pointed out as a like betrayal psalm, right? Give ear to my prayer, O God, and hide not yourself from my plea of mercy. Attend to me and answer me. I'm restless in my complaint, and I moan because of the noise of the enemy, because of the oppression of the wicked. For they drop trouble upon me, and in anger they bear a grudge against me. My heart is in anguish within me. The terrors of death have fallen upon me. Fear and trembling come upon me, and horrors overwhelm me. And I say, oh, that I had wings like a dove. I would fly away and be at rest. Yes, I would wander far away. I would lodge in the wilderness, Selah. I would hurry to find a shelter from the raging wind and the tempest. Destroy, O Lord, divide their tongues, for I see violence and strife in their city, right? So, there's a lot of opportunity to utilize some of this, right? You can get just the sense of being betrayed or attacked or different things like that. So that's certainly an option. Let's look at some of these key passages that are identified. So here in Matthew 26, excuse me. This one's all about, this one here in Matthew 26 is all about the betrayal of Judas, just from a different perspective, right? So relevant, we could throw that in as a cross-reference. I wonder if I can copy. I can probably, rather than copying the Bible verse itself, I can probably just copy the link. No, I want to. Oh, that's a shame. I was hoping like I could copy. I wonder if I can highlight that. Ooh, there we go. Let's see if we can copy that straight over. Because I don't want to copy. I know if I copied the Bible verse, it would actually give me more than what I was looking for. That worked quite well. It gives me, yep, that gives me the cross reference, so it's good. And here's some more surrounding the betrayal incident. Yeah, so that's a good approach right there. And so all of these are surrounding the same idea, right? So you could definitely do some like mix and match with the other Bible verses on this one. That would be interesting. And let's see. Those are the key passages. Biblical senses, media, dictionaries. Oh, we got lots of hits in the Bible dictionaries. This is nice. So let's see. Let's, I guess, just start going through dictionary biblical imagery. I really like this one because it often looks at things from a symbolic perspective, which is pretty handy. It says this: betrayal's the stuff of which dramas are made. The Bible has its share of such stories, including Delilah's betrayal of Samson's secret and Judas's betrayal of Jesus. Such actions are not given simple pejorative labels, however, as they might have been in modern media. Rather, the writers use expressive words, which can have a variety of positive and negative meanings to evoke the true nature of the dark deeds. The chief Old Testament image of betrayal is wrongful exposure of what should remain hidden, Hebrew galah. Thus, the gossip who betrays a confidence, Proverbs 20:19 NIV, is literally revealing the information wrongly. However, God rightly reveals galah, his secrets, to the prophets. The same word also describes unlawful sexual relations, literally to uncover the nakedness, suggesting that any wrongful exposure of private matters strikes at the very root of a person's identity. Oh, that's a very interesting take, right? Again, looking at gossip and these ideas of slander, right? Thus, tabloid journalism exposés of private lives would qualify as betrayal in Old Testament terms. So too would character assassination by gossips, whom wise people avoid. By contrast, when David's adultery was exposed, it was by private challenge from a prophet, not by public headlining. That's really interesting, right? Yeah, very, very intriguing. A secondary Old Testament image of betrayal is that of deceit, especially breaking faith with God or another person. So I like this private versus public aspect, right? Let's go ahead and put dictionary biblical imagery down here. So we'll talk about the private versus public aspect, right? And then deceit, breaking faith with God or another person. That is disloyalty. This is a powerful image in a culture that prized close solidarity and trust. Jeremiah's bitterness stems partly from the fact that his own family has betrayed him, in just the same way as the nation is betrayed unfaithful to God by acting like an adulterous spouse. Betrayal, in this sense, rips relationships apart and cuts the threads that hold a community together. Wow. I never realized this, guys, but the Bible has so much to say about betrayal, right? I didn't even think of Jeremiah and his family. And then also you have Hosea here, right? And that is a betrayal of, sexual infidelity, right? Which is really, cuts really strongly against, the integrity of a relationship, right? Especially husband and wife. So the chief Old Testament image of betrayal is wrongful exposure of what should remain hidden. Thus, the gossip who betrays confidence is literally revealing the information wrongly. Oh, no, I already read that. Here we go. New Testament image of betrayal, mostly restricted to the actions of Judas, is quite different. It is that of handing over one person to another, as in Pilate's quasi-legal handing over of Jesus to the executioners. Judas Iscariot, dubbed the betrayer, is, in most versions of the Greek, literally the one who handed Jesus over. That's very interesting. Cal Magic says, I have a thesis that mathematics is an attribute of God, probably not unique to me, but exploring about how math as a practice has influenced Western civilization. Also exploring how about our fallen state affects our thinking, reading a lot and seeing where it all takes me. That's amazing, Cal Magic. Very cool. Yeah, I think you're right. I have seen a lot of comparisons of God and his logical relationship being compared to math and different things like that. So I think there's a lot of value there. Pasta Mac, hello. Thank you. Chazzy Mac here wanted to come over and drop some bits for you. Don't mind me. Move along. 500 bits from Chazzy Mac. Much appreciated. You didn't have to do that, brother. But I appreciate that. And look, we'll unmute the sound events and we'll play that one. Right? Can we play it? Come on. Let's see. I might be so backlogged.
I don't know why you're clapping. I'm talking about you.
I'm so backlogged on the follower bot sound events that I can't force it to play your bit donation. So I apologize.
I don't know why you're clapping. I'm talking
much love
about
to you.
you.
I appreciate you, Chazzy Mac. You are awesome. Thank you for all the love and support. Fantastic. 500 bits from Chazzy Mac. Much love. Got to mute these again, guys. Otherwise, we'll just have incessant follower notifications. All right. So notice here the difference between the betrayal in the Old Testament, both breaking faith and betraying confidence or wrongfully exposing somebody, okay? And then in the New Testament, handing somebody over to somebody else, right? So those are all some of the key themes. Jesse, good work on those alerts, LOL. Jess, do you see our viewers right now? Are you watching what I'm watching? I don't know who is bot spamming us with followers and viewers, but this is our current situation. Oh man, so it's kind of funny. Who knows? Chazzy, I didn't even think of that. My bad. It's not your bad. You didn't do it for the sound effect, right? You did it because you're showing your love and appreciation, right? Jesse says, "Yep, it's been a bit since this kind of stream." LOL. I haven't been like bombarded in a stream like this since our TikTok days. It was our TikTok days years ago when we really had streams that looked like this. Really love the alerts. They are great. I'm glad you like them. Yes. It's a shame because the bit donation alert is really funny too, but it is what it is. And some more bits with an emote. That's right. Much love. You guys are awesome. Oh man. I don't even know. Our numbers are wild right now. See, these are the kind of people. Structured determinant 15. You have to leave God because you are poisoning and staining society and separating us. Not true. We're trying to unite society. We love society. I'm not going to ban you because that's actually a thoughtful, reflective comment. But I would say properly understood, Christianity brings together humanity, right? If we implement it correctly. There's a picture in the book of Revelation that I love, and it's all about uniting humanity, right? Let's see, tribe, tongue. Oh, it's probably a tribe, comma, tongue. I'm not quite getting it. I bet in the ESV it's represented differently. But in the book of Revelation, it talks about uniting people from every tribe, tongue, people, and nation, right? And right here, it's pretty beautiful, right? Worthy are you to take the scroll and open its seals, for you were slain, and by your blood you ransomed people for God from every tribe and language and people and nation, right? That's beautiful. And it's about uniting humanity, not driving a wedge or, separating humanity one from the other, right? So anyway, appreciate you, Structured Determinant, and much love to you. Oh, it looks like our numbers are falling now. They must have decided that it wasn't a worthy endeavor. So anyway, I appreciate you guys coming along, though, for sure. Okay. Let's go ahead and head back to our passage. And, we were in the Dictionary Biblical Imagery. Let's see what it says. Dictionary Biblical Imagery, Pilate's quasi-legal handling. Again, the handing over, right, is pretty important here. This puts his action firmly in the realm of human power play. Whatever his motives were, for one awesome moment in history, Judas the mortal had Christ the eternal in his power. Judas could force Jesus to conform to his own confused plans. He played God and became the archetype of all who exert their wills over others. Ooh, that's pretty powerful. Let's put that down. All righty. Well, it looks like we're leveling off now. All the followers are still backlogged, but our viewers are dropping. So Yeah, real shame. I would love to play your donation, Chazzy. We'll see where we're at in the, I don't know, 10 minutes or so. But looks like our followers or our viewers are dropping off now. So the bot spam attack is over. That's what it looks like to me. By extension, Judas was therefore betraying much more than Jesus' whereabouts or even his friendship and trust. He was also betraying the basic principles of Christian conduct: denial of self-will, trust in God's providence, and love for others that refuses to manipulate them. Far from enabling Christians to explain away Judas' act as pure greed or satanic inspiration, the New Testament forces them to regard as betrayal any self-willed use of power against another, whether it be physical, litigious, emotional, or spiritual. Like the Old Testament, uncovering such acts betray a person's essential humanity, identity, and freedom. And yet Judas's betrayal is itself caught up in God's transcendent plan, so that the words of Joseph to his brothers are strangely recalled. You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good. And I think that's a fantastic verse to bring up in this context, right? Because when somebody is betrayed, essentially recognizing like God has a plan in this is sometimes hard to do, right? But it's true. It's true. So I'm going to put that Genesis 50:20 here as a cross-reference. Well, if you guys are joining us for the first time, my name is Pastor Tanner. I am a pastor in a church in Colorado. I've been lead pastor there for over 5 years, and I do my sermon preparation on stream. So I am planning on preaching on John chapter 13, verses 21 through 30 this upcoming Sunday. And so I'm just working through the passage and kind of talking through my thought process and ideas, right? So welcome to the channel. Thanks for swinging by. We're glad you're here. You probably found me because I probably got pumped in this category. We just had a bot spam attack, but we quickly banned all of the interlopers, and we still have our follower train ticking off here. But yeah, thanks for swinging by. If you have any questions, comments, concerns about religion, spirituality, anything like that in general, happy to answer and give my opinions and ideas. So thanks for swinging by the channel. Okay, well, that was the Dictionary of Biblical Imagery. Let's go ahead and jump into this more popular work here on community, living into community, cultivating practices that sustain us. And let's see what they have to say about this betrayal concept. When we break promises, we betray relationships and erode community. Small betrayals often do a surprising amount of damage. They involve other broken practices, deception instead of speaking the truth, absence instead of welcome, grumbling and envy instead of gratitude. Pastor Mac, while I'm over here, should go ahead and say aloha to Cal and Jesse. Good to see you today. Yes, you guys are all often in here, but Chazzy's usually on YouTube instead. So, yeah, anyway, it's good to have you all in the same place, right? Chazzy says, usually I just know of follow bots, but haven't seen a lot of chat or viewer bots. Didn't know that was a thing, but you handle them with kindness, which is great. Ban them, but with love for them. There you go, Chazzy. Yep, exactly. Cal Magic says, the loss of trust is a victim of betrayal, and yet God, in his grace and mercy, works past that to reclaim us. Yeah, there you go. Very cool. Yeah, we don't get bots very often, Chazzy. We are a small, humble channel, but we know what to do when the situation arises, right? All righty. Betrayal within the community. Theologians have frequently viewed betrayal as a grave sin. For John Calvin, unfaithfulness or infidelity is at the root of the fall, and ambition, pride, and ingratitude are some of its bitter fruit. In Dante's Inferno, the ninth and lowest circle is for those who betray what they should be most faithful to. That's pretty insightful right there. Let's grab that one for sure. Living in community? Living into community. Despite recognition of its gravity, we have tended to overlook the impact of betrayal on community life. That is until we are faced with its deeply destructive consequences. Shadeless, what is up? Good to see you. Welcome. How are you, brother? It's been a minute. How have you been? Thanks for swinging by. So that's a very interesting idea. I'm going to grab the info out of this book just because this already strikes me as a very relevant book to what we're talking about here. All righty. Let's see. How do we explain to ourselves what we are doing when we are unfaithful to a spouse, cheat on church finances, or misuse our power? Do we tell ourselves this situation is different or they don't understand my needs? How do we justify our actions, even to ourselves? People rarely anticipate the impact of their infidelity on family members, parishioners, students, onlookers, or God's kingdom. The self-deception at the heart of betrayal allows us to ignore its terrible cost to community. I think that's a very good point. Shadless doing well. Hope family and church fam is all doing well. Yeah, we're doing well, Shadless. My two young kids are doing well. They're about to turn 5 and 3. So yeah, that's going well. The church is doing well. I just went to plurality of elders. We just voted in a constitutional amendment for plurality of elders. I started a PhD on the topic of epistemology, so I've been currently working through that. Just some initial stuff at first, but yeah, that my secular job is going well. I've got some new leaders in place and working on building out my leadership team. So our lives are dense, but super meaningful. And yeah, we're doing really well. It's been good, man. It's been good. Let's go. That's awesome. Yeah, exactly. Cal Magic 5 and 3. Where does time go? Exactly right. Exactly right. That's what it's been. Yeah. You said you're doing well. That's great, man. I'm so glad to hear that. Very cool. Time flies when you're having fun, right? Absolutely. Yeah, very good. All right, let's keep going. Our infidelities are often deeply intertwined in Christian communities. When a married couple begins a church plant, their marriage and the future of the church become linked. If after several years the couple divorces, the community is also at risk for being torn apart because of the relationships that are affected. The one rupture cannot be isolated. This is really powerful, and I think they're in our topic on betrayal. We should talk about how everything is linked and trying to see the bigger picture, right? So, betrayal, everything is linked. Seeing the bigger picture. Very important, right? Very cool. Okay, let's continue here. When we're on the receiving end of failed promises but do not see a justification or excuse for them, we feel betrayed. Our deepest betrayals are linked to failures in our most significant relationships and commitments. Betrayal is devastating to our trust and sense of justice, and sometimes to our faith. Yeah, absolutely. Christian workers often underestimate our own capacity for sin. We sometimes overlook small infidelities or deceptions, assuming they won't matter in the grand scheme of things because we are involved in important work for the kingdom. We imagine that accountability and fidelity somehow matter less. Ironically, the self-confidence that derives from being connected with God's purposes in the world can make us very vulnerable to careless expressions of infidelity. Yeah, much love, Jess. I'll give you an update after the stream on what's going on there. A pretty tough situation for Cal Magic. Clergy misconduct is a particularly destructive form of betrayal. The role of a pastor is associated with the entire congregation, with the larger identity of the church, and with God. People don't necessarily separate these, and when someone in an institutional role betrays central promises, trust is undermined quite generally. Congregations that have been betrayed by the misconduct of their leaders often take years to recover. Subsequent pastors struggle to find and address the wounds scattered throughout the congregation. Patterns of behavior that have resulted from the broken trust are often hard to interpret. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I had met somebody, this has always stuck with me. I had met somebody who I was open air preaching, evangelizing, and I had ran into somebody who was a former Christian. And I asked them why they left the faith. They said that because their pastor committed adultery. And that has always baffled me, right? That somebody's personal faith, their relationship with God, would falter because of the infidelity of their pastor. But when you look at things from this perspective, right, the misconduct of church staff and clergy, I think it makes more sense. And you begin to understand why the misconduct of a pastor would actually impact somebody else's life so profoundly. So anyway, I think that's helpful to work through. Let's see. Because of the impact of betrayal on trust and relationships, we are often harsh with those who break significant promises or violate commitments. But most of us fail in some commitment, sometimes in small and occasionally in great ways. In the messiest situations, where there are multiple betrayals, it is not necessarily clear who betrayed whom. Instead of responding to sin or human weakness redemptively, some communities shoot their wounded. The most fragile folks are often the most vulnerable in these settings. How we respond to betrayal and continue in love becomes a major test of individual and communal character. Yeah, dead right about that. Dead right about that. Cal Magic says RFK was talking about how he was brought back to God from addiction to heroin by reading Carl Jung's Synchronicity. Jung was a Christian and thinking of reading it. I have all of the collected works of Carl Jung, Cal Magic. I find him very intriguing to read. This is the first claim I've ever heard that he was a Christian. Jung was a psychologist who was very open to spirituality. But I want you to know I love reading Jung. Some of my favorite quotes ever come from Jung. I have a quote that I always reference on, let's see if I can find it in my notes. I have a quote that I always reference from Jung, and he's talking about patterns in the world. One of the things that fascinates me about Jung is how he focuses in on metaphysical realism and the necessity of certain patterns or flows of thought, right? That's one of the things that fascinates me about Jung. I don't know if I'll be able to find it. I have a quote from Jung I've always loved, but oh, is it down here? Maybe not. Bummer. I wish I could give it to you. Anyway, yeah. Jess says, whatever text is open in your right panel, I'd love to read it, Pastor Tanner. This is a book that I think is really valuable for what it is. This is called Living into Community, Cultivating Practices That Sustain Us, Jess. And I definitely think it's worth reading on this topic of betrayal. It's profound. But I'm not sure like what else it would have to say. Let me try one more spot for this Jung quote, and then if I can't find it, I'll give up on it. Yeah, I have the collected works of Carl Jung, Cal Magic, and I find him absolutely fascinating. These are notes for one of my classes. Oh my goodness, they are in depth here. Let me do a Control F on this guy, and then put Jung in here and see if I can find it. No, it's just grabbing jungle here. Well, shucks. I have one other idea. I want to go run and grab the book from my shelf. I bet I could find it pretty quick. I forget what volume it's in, though. Give me 1 sec, Cal Magic, and I'm going to try to find this book from Jung that I really like. Cal Magic, I spent a decent chunk of time a few years ago collecting the works of Carl Jung, and I have all of them now. This is volume 11, and I just went on eBay and I had to cherry pick and put a set together because it was too expensive otherwise. I don't know if it's in this volume, but he has a comment about how I think he has a comment that reveals his metaphysical realism in a way that is very powerful, and I think Christians need to lean into more. I've been studying more epistemology than metaphysics these days, but I still think there's a lot to a almost an essential metaphysical realism. Let me see if I could find this. Jung quote. Brother. Let's just try this one. Man, I can't find it. He kind of talks about how there's these patterns in the world, and he calls them archetypes, right? But he talks about how there's these patterns, and you can quote brother like Cain, Abel, Jesus, Satan. Let's see if I can find it. Man, I can't find it. Anyway, long story short, Cal Magic, I like reading Jung. I think he brings a lot to the table. I would only recommend him to mature Christians. Okay? Only recommended for mature Christians. Immature Christians will get confused and maybe even wreck their faith. So if you're an immature Christian, I'm not sure I recommend Jung to you, but a mature believer, I think will get a lot out of him. I think I have the Yale, or no, this is not Yale. It's the Bollingen series of his works, and he does like 20 volumes, I think, if you include the general index. So yeah. Anyway, to the mature, I can recommend Jung, but he's certainly challenging. Again, his metaphysical realism, I think, is something that Christians should definitely grapple with, and in that sense, I think Jung can be more spiritual than many evangelicals. So, all right, where are we at? We're pushing 6 o'clock. I need to probably head up now, and sounds interesting. Yeah, I wish I could find the quote for you, Cal Magic. If I end up finding it, I bet I could find it off stream. If I end up finding it, I can shoot a message to you with it, with the quote in there. But yeah, I find him interesting. You can get most of his works digitally, online. Oh, I forget where I had to go. There's a website where it's like public domain works in PDF form, and you can download them. Not all of his works are public domain, but anyway. And then if you get his collected works in Kindle, it's relatively reasonable price. So there are options to read him. But yeah, I find him fascinating. Okay, guys, I think I'm going to end here. We had a fun stream. Really enjoyed hanging out with you guys. Let's see if the spam bots are over. They're not. They're still going. I was going to say if the spam bots are over, I would play Chazzy Max donation. Appreciate the 500 bits. That's awesome. Much love to you. And yeah, thank you. Thanks for hanging out, guys. This was a lot of fun. And yeah, even I don't know why we got spammed so hard, but I have more recommendations. Give me a sec. Okay, no problem. I don't know why we got spammed so hard, but what somebody intended for evil, God meant for good, right? Like, there you go. So, if you're gonna be typing something real quick, Cal Magic, I'm gonna look for in one more work because I think I could find this if I was looking for it. I can't find it, Cal Magic. I'll have to message it to you separately. Carlos Whitaker's Reconnected. It's about screen time and how it disconnects us from being human. He talks about how we have outsourced joy. I think it's an important book for pastors and Christians. Good to know, Cal Magic. I'm going to write this one down. And this one I think is very relevant as well. And if it's, it might be fitting to even do this as a book study in church, because this is a great topic for Jess and I to dig into, because it's a big deal for our church. Okay, cool. Well, thank you, everyone. I had a great stream. Really enjoyed your time with me. And yes, Anxious Generation. We should read both of those together, Jess. And I think it'd be relevant to bring up to our church, because it's a very important practical issue in our day and age. So you guys are awesome, amazing. I hope you have a great evening. Thanks for hanging out with me. And yeah, we'll catch you again real soon, okay? Appreciate all your guys' love and support. Keep on keeping on in whatever capacities we can. We'll see you again real soon. Take care. God bless.